All right, we are back, guys. Once again, Trigger the podcast. We have our very special guest tonight. I'm very proud and honored to have him on. We've been going back and forth. Our schedules have been insane, but it's been awesome. Always good things. Please welcome awesome guest, Mr. Joe Walters, a positive veteran.
Thank you, Tony.
Yay.
Awesome. Great to be here. It's really been great connecting with you each time we get together. It really is some awesome conversation. So I'm excited to dive in today, learn a little bit more, and share a little bit of what's been going on in both our worlds.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think being you both networked with the OVF through Chris and Liam and their whole network of amazing veterans. But then it's amazing because we live so close together too. You know, we're only an hour away, hour and a half, I'd say, of where we live. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Where were you again? What town are you again?
Upstate New York, so Middleburg, Copelskill area.
Copelskill, that's right. Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yep. So not too far. So let's jump right into it, man. Let's get into a little bit of your military history.
Yeah, awesome. So I was in the Marines from 2011 to 2015. I didn't go right out of high school. Out of high school, I tried the college thing a little. That didn't work out. Got a job at the local public works. I was picking up recycling, working on roads. Didn't see a future there, so decided to go to the military. Probably like 4 or 5 years out of high school. Went in, wanted to be a fireman in the military, but as usual, they're like, yeah, that's going to be your job. And then I ended up being aviation ordnance. I loaded bombs on planes. So, they're similar, right?
Right.
So I did that for 4 years. I definitely knew pretty quickly I wanted to do my 4 and get out. I enjoyed my time in. I was really good at my job. I worked on Harriers, spent a lot of time at sea. So I was stationed in Yuma, Arizona. And then we went out on Muse. So we went out at sea. We supported OEF. Did some time in Japan, did our traveling, and it was a good time. I enjoyed the technical aspect of it, pulling engines out of planes, loading bombs, and the camaraderie, the experience. But I always knew that there was this bigger vision that I had, and I wanted to take all these things that I cultivated inside the military and use it on the outside. And I really didn't know what that was for. I just had this calling. So I did my 4 and I got out in 2015. Which is really where my story starts to explode from there, I would say.
That's awesome. And you know what's funny is you say aviation, and I was in aviation in the 10th Mountain, and there's some kind of like we have the military camaraderie bond, but then you're like aviation or like there's just that extra small filter. And in aviation, you get to do and see the craziest stuff. That's just like, oh yeah, it's every day we're loading up, UH-60s and just going crazy on them. So it's awesome, man. Yeah, like C-130s, all that stuff. And I know you guys call them Cobras, but our Apaches, same exact helicopter. They hold a lot of ammo. They have a lot of missiles, lots of bombs. Yeah. And they're really small helicopters it's kind of like a bumblebee, It's like, how do the little wings keep them up,
Yeah, seriously.
It's wild. Yeah, that's awesome. And a lot of people do say that too, like, oh, I'm going to go career military or I'm going to do this military. And then the truth is sometimes they can't, like myself. I got injured, so I got, medical discharge. And it's awesome that you had that vision, like, all right, I'm going to do my time, get my 3-4 years in, whatever it is. And then, Charlie Mike, move on. And it's so good to have that focus and that open path where you said, okay, this is just a stepping stone. So That's awesome. So, so next step forward, I get super excited about stuff. So go ahead and tell the folks what your next step was.
Yeah, absolutely. So next step, I get out of the military and I went back to what I always knew. I went to work for my friend's company doing floors. We were refinishing Apple stores and just doing big work in New York City, coatings, all this stuff, and reassimilating back into civilian life. Now I'm very structured. I'm very disciplined. I have very high standards. And I got very frustrated a lot in this job. Like, they weren't caring about the end product. I'm trying to build these systems and processes. No one else really gave a shit. And finally, a couple months in or like a year in, I was like, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars a job. I'm getting pennies. I can do this work better than them. I'm just going to start my own construction company. And that's what I did. And flooring's pretty niche. It's pretty niche down, right? So I took all the savings that I had from like my time when I was like a volunteer fireman, like 15 years prior, took out a loan and I bought a concrete grinding machine for like 10, 15,000 and started doing garage floors. kind
That's
of
awesome.
had an idea what I was doing, but some of these jobs were the first because we were doing commercial work. This was personal residential work. That was a huge learning curve.
Big difference.
Oh yeah. So I went on this path. I started my construction company, started to build it up, and things were going good, but also my mental health was starting to take a decline. Now I'm a personal business owner. Now I'm working 60, 80 hours a week. Now I'm dealing with employee issues, money issues. While I was making more, I was spending more. And really festering below the surface of all of it was, so I had my positive military characteristics that I brought in, my discipline, my structure, my ability to just have to follow through. But then I had some of my negative tendencies, the way that I coped, the way that I dealt with stress and anger. I was having outbursts. I was drinking heavily. Now I'm out of the military. Drugs were getting involved. And I was really reaching this boiling point in my life. And funny enough, I never seeked out help ever. I would just shut down. I would sit on the couch for days on end. I would blow up. I would retract. I would pull in. And I didn't even understand the problem I had. I was that just blind to it. And to this day, I don't know why I made this decision, but me and my partner at the time decided to take some psychedelic mushrooms. We don't know what came over us, but the thought of us taking mushrooms came into our consciousness. So we had a friend that she worked with that got them very consciously, knew this network of people that would get it for us. So we took mushrooms. And the first experience I ever had was, to this day, probably the most pivotal experience I've had in my whole life. It completely changed my world. And not everything changed that day. There was a long process from that day. But it basically tore away who I thought I was in that moment, so I could begin to rebuild and understand who I really was, beyond the anger, beyond the emotions, beyond the construction company, and really start to hone in and see a vision of what I'm really here to do and what I really am passionate about and I love. So that's that's a little bit of the abridged version of what brought me to plant medicine. And then from there, that was about 2018, 2017. It took then it was a couple of years of that happened. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start growing these things because there's a lot more work to do. And I didn't even know what work was. I didn't know what integration was. I didn't know what personal development was. I didn't know who Tony Robbins was. None of it. I was just this fresh greenie who had a new outlook on the world. So yeah, I continued to work with these medicines. A lot of stuff came up, a lot of awareness, a lot of personal reflection, which ultimately led me into personal development and really understanding what that means and how to optimize myself for happiness, for productivity, and ultimately to embody the life I truly wanted.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's so great to hear. It's funny because before the military, I was, and currently I still am, a volunteer fireman, and we do EMS as well. And I did about 10 years before the military, and before that, and while I was doing that, coincidentally, I was doing blacktopping and seal coating with my father's business. So it's just amazing how, again, so many backstories are so similar to guys and girls like me and you who, we get out and we're like, okay, that's all I know. I'm going to go back to it. And we realize mentally and physically, hey, maybe I can't do that job anymore. I know myself, the 9 to 5 thing isn't going to cut it. I can't do it. I know that, but I know, like you said, you find your triggers, you find out what upsets you. And when I first got the same thing, I didn't know. I would just blow up. I would get upset. I would get angry for no reasons, just the smallest things. And I didn't reflect back, same thing, shut down, go away and all that. And I had similar situations where I found other alternative medicines that helped me. And now we can have this great conversation and actually truly be happy and reflect and understand, like, okay, if I do this, this is going to happen. If I do that, that's going to happen. And to find that alternative medicine like that is so amazing because, again, and we can dive deeper into it in a couple minutes. A lot of people think, oh, mushrooms, we're just going to get high and, trip balls and all that stuff. But there's so much more to it. There's so much deeper medicinal ways to heal physically and mentally using it. There was a documentary, I forgot when it was. I saw, oh my God, probably 5-6 years ago, something like that, where it actually can cure migraines instead of taking all these meds now, Imitrex, Botox. Tons of meds are out there for that. I forgot the other one. TBIs are great, but they and they're microdosing and it helps them with migraines, so they don't have that photophobia, they don't have that hypersensitivity and all that. So yeah, jump into the next step for what you're doing, and the personal development stuff is amazing. But yeah, tell us what else, like what you're into now.
Yeah, so I was really heavy in the psychedelics path for a while. I really so 2020 came and I really reached ahead in my life. So the concrete, there was two personalities meeting inside of me. There was the concrete
Mm,
industry, and then there was the me of, wow, you went from suicidal ideations, alcohol, substance abuse, all these things, and you've turned your life around. You have
yeah.
you have things, you have insights, you have wisdom that you learned along this path. You need to help people. So this realization really came to me. So it really reached a point where I finally was like, I need to get rid of the construction company. I sold the equipment, got rid of all of it, and made the jump into becoming a life coach. And I didn't really know what that meant. I got
Right.
myself a life coach, learned about coaching, learned about building a business, learned about branding, learned about all that
Mm,
stuff, and kind of struggled for a little bit. I was just this Marine who kind of figured some stuff out, and I had a lot of imposter syndrome to work through. I had a lot of personal worth things to work through, a lot of beliefs, a lot of mindset. So the beginning of that journey for me was a lot of self-work, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of understanding what it is I bring to the table and believing in that. So
absolutely.
again, I got deep into the work. I ended up connecting with an ayahuasca practitioner in upstate New York, sitting with ayahuasca, doing facilitation, started to do mushroom facilitation for people and helping people to have these experiences. That led me eventually to writing a book. The inspiration for that was so many people are getting into this line of work, and I had no resources. I didn't know what the word
Mm,
integration was. I didn't know what an intention was. I would just take them at home and things would happen. And then I was figuring it out. So I wrote
right.
a book about, preparing a little bit of the history, what integration is, what the different areas of life you're going to be integrating these into, and really
Yeah.
dove in that path deeply. And this past year, I've kind of revamped a little bit. My coaching has really steered towards, because before it was psychedelics focused. That was really my main focus of everything. And really my passion began through that work. We began into high performance. What does it mean to be a highly optimized individual, fully harmonious in all aspects of life? Personal, business, relationship, pushing growth edges. So now psychedelics are a tool, microdosing, macrodosing, all the different, like, that's a tool we can utilize. But again, they're only tools that are opening up the doors inside of us. And there's all these other ways to biohack. I know you want to talk about cold plunges, cold immersion. You have
Yeah.
distance running, physical fitness. There's all these different levers that we can pull to optimize our body, optimize our mind, optimize our spirit. And that's really what I've landed on, and I'm really passionate about now. It's not just grinding, not just working 80 hours a week, because that's not highly successful. When we're talking about high success habits, like in Brendon Burchard's book, we're talking about people who perform at a high level for an extended period of time in all aspects of life, in their relationships, in their families, in their
Yes.
happiness. They're not sacrificing one for the other. They're building their life in a way that everything's harmonious. And that's what I'm super passionate about. And then really
Absolutely.
figuring out more deeply each and every day.
Yeah, I love that you're saying that, because it's so true. Because a lot of people, that I've talked to as well, doing just basic conversations, is, oh, I'm really, they're making tons of money, they're really happy in their business, or they're making tons of money, but at home is struggling. Or when I ask people about, or we have conversations about faith or religion, oh, they may go to church once a year. Okay, well, there's all these factors, like you said, in your life that have to be equal and in sync with each other. And once they're harmonious together, once they're in sync, everything else blows up. And it's amazing, because that's one thing that me and my buddy Luke, where we have some side projects going on, and that's one of the things we're teaching. We're working on a relationship class, and we always tell people, you can't go out and try to date or be happy or whatever until you're happy yourself.
Mhm.
Don't think that this magic person's going to pop into your life, because it's not going to happen. If you're not happy with yourself and all your levels aren't happy, then that's it.
Yeah.
Eric Thomas had a great, actually, it wasn't an analogy, it was a true story, but and use it as an analogy, where there was a building in Miami where the front face was this beautiful, like, multi-million dollar face, but they skimped on the backside, and the left side of the building just totally crumbled. So he was saying, like, you can have everything great in one side of your life, but if the other side isn't, up to the same par, then the rest of your life is just going to crumble. And I think you definitely wrote that ran all together, man. If you don't have those good relationships, positive energy, good mental health, good physical health, that's really huge and really important. And it's just amazing, and it's so great, like you say, using those tools and finding those tools and those things that is really important to have. Let's go into that one tool, and we have listeners all over, and I know you know what I'm going to go into because it just blows my mind. So we have listeners all across the world, different, in the South where it's nice and warm, up in Canada, Russia, all these places. Where we're located in New York, currently right now, I believe it's 16 degrees. Thursday, Friday, we're supposed to get a foot of snow. So jump into, figuratively and analytically, that ice water bath, man. I mean, I watch this every morning, and I'm freezing. I'm like, man, Joe's gotta be cold. And your face is like happy when you go, and you're like, and relaxed, like if it was 100 degrees.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting practice. The first time I ever did a cold water immersion in a bath was, I think, last year. There's a guy by the name of Wim Hof. He's like the father of cold water exposure. And there's really a multitude of reasons why I do it and reason why there's benefits to this. First and foremost, I'll talk about the leaning into discomfort. This is such a crucial thing and why I do this. This is why I do things like run marathons and push myself physically. We're going to be challenged in life. And when we try to take the easy route, our life becomes harder. When we go and push into the struggle, into the challenge, our life becomes easier. So for me, it's like really about reorienting my relationship to challenge, reorienting my relationship to pain. And recently I'm doing a cold shower challenge because I used to do cold plunges every few weeks, but Wim Hof put out this 60 for 60, 60 days, 60 cold showers, 60 seconds. So I'm like, oh man, 60 days and waking up and going right in. I'm like, damn, that sucks. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And every day. And even though when I get out, I feel great. I'm like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. It's cold. Don't get me wrong. It's cold, but it's never as bad as your mind makes it. And still, I'm on day 39. And this morning, it took me like 5-10 minutes to get in. I got out. My brain's like, but maybe this morning. And it's just so interesting to see that the brain will always have an excuse to stay in comfort. And this directly relates to your business, to your relationships, to every other area in life.
So true.
Yeah. So the mental aspect is such a key aspect of it. And I really feel that reverberates in other areas of my life. Now, physically, when we go look at it physically, there is such a cascade of things that happen in our body that's incredible. Releasing epinephrine, norepinephrine, which is also adrenaline. So we get focus and clarity. We release serotonin and dopamine, the happy chemical, the motivation chemical. So doing these things right off the bat in the morning, it's like having 10 cups of coffee. It helps metabolism. It begins to convert our fats. There's 3 different kinds of fats in our body. And it essentially converts from the fat that's just like a storage fat to a fat that actually is like a furnace for our body. So we more efficiently burn the fat in our body. So there's just all this cascade of things going on physically, mentally, and it's just like a really great thing. And again, it's a stressor. And us, like you just mentioned about me going in, and it almost looks like I'm enjoying it. And in the beginning, there's this shock, and your breathing increases. Just like say you get stressful news about the market or your business, right? Your nervous system upregulates, your heart begins to race fast. And when I get in that moment, a couple seconds go by and I tune into my breath. There's no opportunity to go anywhere else but sit in that moment. And I slow my breathing down and I surrender to the experience. And I think this is what we're cultivating. That's a stressor like anything else. So for me, it's going to the gym for the emotional challenges that are going to happen in my life that are inevitable.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love the way you put that because I mean, we see it all the time. People come up with excuses. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. And I know for myself, probably, I'm just guessing, same with you, going through the crucible during basic. For us, it was the forge. That sucked. I mean, I remember literally doing a ruck march, carrying a box of ammo, which was probably only 100 pounds with my battle buddy. And she was like this tall on me. And I remember with my other hand on the rifle, asleep, just walking, and literally like almost drunk, and you're like, wait, what just happened? We just did a mile. Okay, well, you have to get through it. You have to go through it. Just suck it up and deal with it. And being okay with not being okay, being okay with being discomforted, is so important in life because, like you said, our brain tells us, hey, let's take this easy way out. Let's take that easy way out, the survival mentality type thing. And I feel a lot of us who are doing good things, who are doing big things, or on the way to do big things, the difference between like us as I'll say the 1 to 2% of the world and the rest of us is we're okay with going through the pain. We like the pain, we like the discomfort because that we know is going to build us to something bigger and better down the road.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I'm going to try maybe tomorrow. We'll see how things go. That 60 seconds in a cold shower right off in the morning. I mean, it's going to suck. It's going to be cold at first, but I think that's just so awesome. It's better than having a drill sergeant or a drill instructor jumping in down your face, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. And for everyone listening, start where you're at. My first plunge, I did like 20, 30 seconds. And,
Yeah.
You could start hot, go cold, start cold, go hot, whatever you want to do, start with where you're at. Any action is better than no action if you're interested in it. And if it sounds like something that's crazy and it's not for you, leave it to the side and try something else. I feel like, again, like I said, I think any physical activity, anything that our brain has resistance to, that we know there's a benefit from. And this is just something so big now, foregoing immediate pleasure for that long-term gain. It's something through social media and the internet. We've lost that to a big degree, and that is where the money is. That is why, like you were just saying, why is it that 2 to 3% of people are so successful? It's these principles. And I'll touch a little bit because I'm reading Brendan Burchard's book right now, High Performance Habits. And when we look at high performance people, have you read it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's not a personality type. There's no person born with a certain type of personality that says this is what makes you successful. What it comes down to is 6 habits. And they studied 198 countries, hundreds of millions of dollars, tens of thousands of people, drilled down. Why are these people so successful and so happy? And it came down to 6 habits. You know what that means? You have full control over whether you want to strengthen and sharpen those habits. I mean, all focus around what? Awareness, self-awareness, service, your why. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's a simple formula.
And it's wild, man. Just like you said, there's just the simple things you can do to change your life. And it's at 1% a little bit every day. Drinking an extra bottle of water, glass of water, having that salad maybe as opposed to, the chicken wings. And I like my chicken wings. I'll admit that. But, just having those smaller things like that, doing 20, 30 minutes cardio compared to no cardio at all. Everything adds up and it really makes a huge difference. I know last week I was in Florida and we had a great time. And my daughter tried kayaking for the first time and she was nervous at first. But once she got it and she was like, oh, this is fun. We got home that night and she's like, can we buy kayaks? And we're like, bet. Like, this is perfect. It's some kind of exercise. You're outside breathing that fresh air. You're doing something other than, like you said, a lot of us are sitting home looking at the screens, which please don't turn off yet. We're still doing the podcast. But, looking at the screens, playing the video games, all that stuff. And I mean, it's good to relax a little bit once in a while. But I want to challenge everyone listening now. Like, how many books have you read this year? My personal thing, like, I never liked reading, especially when I was younger. I hated reading. I'd rather watch a movie. Now I'm like addicted to books. I'm all about reading research, articles, like documentaries left and right. It's a great thing. And it's good to enrich and challenge your mind because once you start learning more, that veil opens up and you're like, I know that's BS. They're lying for that. That's just a marketing tool, you know. And of course, spending some time with our friends over at OVF, they've kind of opened that Pandora's box. So Chris and Liam, thank you for ruining my life. No, I'm just kidding. They're awesome guys. But yeah, let's get we got about 5 minutes left. So let's just plug in, man. Where can people find you and see you?
Yeah, so Facebook and Instagram, definitely Instagram. I'm most active over there. I do weekly lives at The Positive Veteran. Facebook, same thing, facebook.com/The Positive Veteran. Positive Veteran Coaching is my website. So www.positiveveterancoaching.com has information on different services that I provide, a little bio about me. And yeah, that's the those are the best places to get at me. I'm always out there in social media land. I love making content. One of my passions, just sharing different tidbits I'm getting through podcasts and books and and content can be a fun game, especially with all the tools and stuff they got now. So,
and it's wild too, like with stuff like that, 90% of it's free, you know, and it's so easy to do. And it is, once you get used to it, it's like, oh, I can do this, I can do that. I just got my wife actually got me on TikTok and Instagram as well. So I'm trying to learn that game a little bit. So, but yeah, thank you, Joe, so much for hopping on. I know, like I said, our schedules were a little crazy there for a little bit, but we'll definitely have you on again. It's always been a pleasure. And good luck tonight with the coaching. I mean, huge things happening for you, and I'm so proud to have you on and be your friend and support you, man.
Yeah, likewise, Tony. It's always been a pleasure. Tonight is actually coaching for a coaching program I'm in. So remember, even coaches get coached. If you believe in what you're doing, you know that, you know. So
absolutely.
So I always love having that extra layer, constantly, giving me the feedback. And even if it's not a coach, have someone in your life, bring that extra awareness, hold you accountable, get those different perspectives. Biggest thing
I was just going to say that accountability is so huge.
It is.
Awesome. Well, like we say, everyone here at Triggered, thank you very much and stay triggered.